Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Today we have a brand new set of great stories for you to enjoy. Subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Sit comfortably. Here we go. This guy was a jerk to me while I was bartending, so I ruined his marriage. Several years ago, I was bartending in a ski town at a Ritz-Carlton. It was spring break, and we had a ton of wealthy university students staying in our hotel. One of the bellmen, who was also one of my roommates, we'll call him Bob, waved me over. He pointed out one of the guys at my bar, we'll call him Jim, said he used to work with him at the different in another state Ritz. For anyone wondering, it's really common to stay at other hotels when you work for Ritz/Marriott. They have an awesome employee room rate discount. He went on to tell me how much of a jerkhead Jim was. I understood why Bob described Jim the way he did pretty quickly. He was tipping me 25 cents every other drink and just obnoxiously full of himself. I was blessed to have this incredibly witty conversationalist, in his mind, at my bar. I was hanging on his every word when he said, "I'm going in," as he slipped his diamond-crusted wedding ring off and approached a girl, we'll call her Lucy, sitting at the end of my bar. I heard Lucy say she didn't ski and that her friends ditched her and were in the village for après. She was very clearly upset, but probably a little overdramatic, as Lucy could have easily taken a free shuttle to the village. She was almost in tears when she'd ordered her first Cosmo from me, leaving a credit card to start a tab. I worked my incredibly busy shift feeding Jim and Lucy drinks, while now getting tipped 25 cents for every 4 drinks, in between them making out like high school freshmen. The bar then completely cleared out at about 12:30 a.m. We legally had to close at 2 a.m., except these two, who I've served a little more than I would have if they didn't have rooms just upstairs. Since they were the only two left and I didn't feel comfortable serving them anymore, especially her, I gave last call. This is when crap hit the fan. Jim lost it, and I continued to hold my ground, even adding a few quips about how I'd so miss the extra 75 cents I'd be missing out on. He started yelling at me and explaining how he was a bigwig. He was head bellman, not even a supervisor, with the Ritz, and that he'd have my job. He demanded to speak to my manager. I told him the manager was at the front desk. They stormed out. That's when I noticed his phone on the bar. I picked it up and touched the screen. Sweet, it wasn't locked. Went into messages and saw he'd just texted someone. "I love you and I miss you so much." I looked at the text and quickly determined that this was his wife. I went into the information and wrote down, we'll call her Annie's phone number. My manager came around the corner asking me to come talk to him, and they returned to their bar stools. My manager asked me if I felt comfortable serving them one more, saying it was totally my call as he thought they were on the verge. I said sure, knowing that I had a bullet in the chamber if Jim continued to be a jerk. Of course, Jim continued to be a jerk. When I returned to them and said I could serve them one more, he said, "You'll serve me however many more I want, unless you want me to go have another word with your manager." No tip this time, and Jim just continued to talk crap in between making out with Lucy the whole time I was cleaning. When they finished their drinks, he of course tried to order one to go, which I refused. This started a huge explosion on his part, more talking to the manager, resulting in him finally conceding, but not before telling me he'll be talking to the general manager the next day and I'll be jobless. Right before I left for the night, I made a phone call from the bar office phone to Annie's number. It was almost 2 a.m., which made it 4 a.m. where she lived, but she picked up. Me. "Hi, is this Jim?" Annie. "No, this is his wife. He's in—" I interrupted her and spoke fast. Me. "Oh, hi, Lucy. I didn't know you two were married, but that sure explains the epic makeout session and you two practically running to your room. Well, you left your credit card down here at the bar. Sorry to interrupt. You want me to just put 18% on it and leave it at the front desk for you?" There was a long pause and then just a, "Yes, that will be fine," before she hung up. I don't understand why or how people can act so incredibly rude. Great revenge. And our next story. Take notes throughout the entire investigation, then send them in for review? Okay. So a little bit of background for me. I'm a fraud investigator at a company who specializes in small businesses and contracting with larger companies in the northern South Carolina, southern North Carolina area. I'm a trained forensic accountant, however, mostly I investigate arson and/or property damage. Usually the people we're investigating aren't the type for embezzlement or laundering, so my job generally consists of going with another investigator to a burned-down house or business and nodding and agreeing with everything they say, as I'm not trained for arson. That being said, I spend most of my time doing paperwork in the office as we're a pretty small area. Though with Hurricane Florence finally wrapping up, I'm sure my workload is going to increase tenfold in the days to come. So one of our main things to make sure that we don't lie or cheat during investigations is that as soon as we open an investigation, we're required to take copious notes and even sometimes record conversations. This is all with a grain of salt, as we're not going to record a woman crying incoherently. However, we just got a new investigator who was only brought in because he was a friend of one of the current partners who set up the group. We'll call him Dean. Only problem was the other partners who headed the group were not completely convinced that he was the investigator the other partner said he was. So he was under a watchful eye. He was a good guy and a hell of an accountant, so I liked him. But he also looked up to us for help. Here's where the big bad of the story comes in. We'll call him Mac. Mac had been with the firm for almost 15 years at this point and saw himself as a bit of a bad A. He would never follow rules, harass our female coworkers, and oftentimes come into work drunk. Him and I never worked together, but everyone called him the Private Eye, because that's what he saw himself as. At some point in the summer, Dean, Mac, and I were paired up to investigate a report of embezzlement at a rather large chain in the area. Dean and I drove together, and Mac drove alone. We get to the chain, and we see Mac has already gotten there and immediately starts yelling at Dean for not taking notes already as the investigation has started. Dean shies away, and Mac gives me a dirty look, but he also knows that I can't be bullied, so he leaves me be. Mac explains to Dean that everything must be recorded no matter what. Me, feeling bad for Dean, tells him that I'll take all the notes while Dean can record all the interviews, so on, so forth. We get there and talk to the manager, who was the one who noticed the problem in the first place, and I ask to take a look at the books to see if I can find any discrepancies, so on, so forth. Dean already has his microphone on, and I'm taking notes, when Mac tells me to F off. See, that's my job. I know better than to argue, so I just nod. Dean goes with Mac while I interview the manager, and then talk to a couple of the other workers to take up time. Mac and Dean come back from getting the accounting books, and Dean looks like he's about to break down. We wrap up and leave, and Dean and I get back in the car where he explains he was verbally abused by Mac the entire time. We get back to the partnership, and I asked Dean if he had his recorder on the entire time. He said yes. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. The next day, I decide to go over the books again with Mac before continuing the investigation. I invite Dean in to see how we do things, so on and so forth, and ask if I should keep on taking notes. Mac says, and I quote, "Yes, everything, so that we can give it all to the partners for review." So I take notes on everything. Everything. Every word spoken, every hand movement, every comment Mac made to us or anyone else, every number, every page turn, so on, so forth. When we went back to the business, I did the same. By the end of the week, I had a small novel worth of notes, and Dean had enough recordings of voices that he could voice act 7 seasons of a show. All of this included lewd comments, racial slurs, drinking on the job, bragging about stealing cigarettes when he was 13, berating his wife on the phone, telling Dean to suck his D, telling me to F a duck, and so on, so forth, from Mac. We pass the case on to our lawyers and as a result have to turn in our notes to the partners. Imagine the surprise on their face when I come in with 76 pages front and back of notes and Dean walks in with a USB stick full of 5 days worth of Mac being a jerk and everyone else being generally pleasant. The conversation went pretty much as follows. P equals partners, M equals me. P. I see you've been taking notes. M. Yes, I have. Mac, being the senior member of the group, told us to take notes on everything. P. Well, yes, that is our policy. I've never seen this type of output, though. M. Well, that USB stick has 5 days worth of conversation and the papers have the same. P. Well, could you give us the minimum we need? M. I think you should go through it all. If not, at least read for the first couple of pages and listen to a little bit of it. The most important stuff has stars at the top of the page. P. All right, thank you. I left the office and took the weekend off. Come Monday morning, I was called into the business office where the partners were. I was sat down and basically told that while they appreciate my commitment to my job and trying to guide Dean in the right direction, the amount of information we had compiled was unnecessary, but eye-opening in how employees were working with one another. They thanked me for the good work, but lightly warned me that another note compilation would have more backlash, only because this one was for good reason. As I walked out, I saw Mac on his way towards the business office. I excused myself to get some coffee and prepare for the day, and didn't see Mac until an hour later, angrily sitting at his desk. The next day, an email had gone out that employees are to work together in a friendly environment, as well as an empty desk and a senior investigator position opening. Wherever you are, Mac, I hope you found that private eye job you were looking for. You know, everyone at the company probably knew about Mac's terrible behavior, but nothing was done until there was documented evidence. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.